You are listening to the Running Channel podcast with me, Andy Baddeley, my slightly phlegmy co-host, Sarah Hartley, and sat over there pressing the buttons, Rick Kelsey, who today has promised never again to talk about his perineum. How you doing?
Oh, my perineum is recovered now. Thank you very much.
No, you said you weren't going to talk about it. Right. Well, today we're going to be talking about running thoughts versus reality.
My what?
He's still going. We're going to talk about the embarrassment of running thoughts versus the actual reality, and some news stories, and answering your questions, which is always amazing. So we should get stuck in.
Yes, for everyone listening, I do sound about 2 octaves lower.
I can't notice it until you just mentioned it then.
Yeah.
Can you not?
No.
And much like your back injury, I'm sure you're not going to mention it at all.
No, we're never going to.
I had a terrible run yesterday.
Oh, no.
It was honestly tragic, and I think I'm going to get murdered by our videographer or editor, Ben, because I went out. I'm coming to the end of this 30-day challenge now.
Yeah.
I went out to do a long run. I sounded like this, so I was like, okay, I'm throwing all of the paces for this long run out the window. I'm just going to run to like effort and heart rate. But I need somewhere flat because it's relatively fast, this long run. Yeah. And I was in the New Forest. The only option for
the best place in the world, by the way.
So good.
Yeah.
Love it. But the only option for somewhere flat was running along the road. And it is hands down the worst running location I've ever had. Like, laughably bad. You won't be able to hear anything. I think I'm going to have to subtitle myself in order to be able to hear it. The view's terrible. It wasn't even that flat. It was like rolling hills. I was next to a dual carriageway.
You're in a beautiful part of the world and you decided to run down a main road.
Well, that is the
What's up,
irony.
Sarah?
Absolute shocker.
I needed pavement.
I thought you just went horse riding for the weekend.
I did. That
Yeah.
was a far better experience. So Saturday.
Feeling a little bit hoarse today. Oh, hello. No.
Nothing.
Welcome to the last
Got nothing.
episode of
Tumbleweed.
the Running Channel
Yeah.
podcast. I can't put up with them any longer.
Sorry.
That was great. Saturday, easy run, horse riding, beautiful. Sunday,
Just the Sunday run, not so good.
terrible.
Hey, I did a double run weekend.
Did you?
I know.
I love how for most people that's like I ran twice in a day, whereas Andy's like, no, I went for a run one day and then the next day
Run again.
I
This
did
is a
another.
big deal.
How far?
This is a big deal. I ran, 7K on Saturday and about 8K on Sunday.
Nice.
So this is big mileage.
You feeling sore?
No, I feel good today.
You're gonna have to help you out of the chair at the end of this.
Yeah.
Hey, I even averaged a relatively quick pace on my Sunday one. I got all excited, and I did it in the evening, which I hate.
Hang on, Sarah.
the-
What's is something up here?
Yeah, what's happened?
Are we missing something? Is this something to do with a certain Spanish marathon?
I am feeling the jitters of only being, I don't know, whatever it is, 5 or 6 months out. So I need to do what I would always tell other people to do, which is the pre-marathon training, because I don't need right now to go straight into a 16-week marathon block, because I don't think I could do it. I'd be starting at too low a level. So I'm doing a build-up for myself just to get up to a decent enough level to then do a 16-week marathon block.
Marathon training has started for a lot of
Yes.
people taking on Berlin though. So if anyone's listening,
When's
tackling
Berlin?
End of September.
End of September.
Yeah.
And when's your one?
First week in December. So I got a bit of extra time.
Did you not find it was very windy running this weekend?
I did, yes.
I've decided that is my least favourite condition to train in, the wind.
I would. No, I'm with you. I would agree. I don't mind going out in the rain.
Don't mind the rain.
Yeah.
Don't mind. Because I thought I also did actually 2 runs at the weekend. Because this...
No. I felt special for a
No, I'll
little
tell you why. Because I look forward in my week planning
Yeah.
about what I can get in with training this week. And I've got a certain big event coming up this weekend.
Right.
So, which is why I put my runs forward rather than back. Do you know what I mean?
You're looking at us like I should know what this event is. What's going on?
Oh, so I'm going to see Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, nice.
But it's going to take up the whole weekend.
I was like, you literally
I
haven't
know,
told us about
no,
any
it's not a
of
race.
this.
It's not a race. No,
Is it the Open?
Is it? I was like, is it your?
Is it a special occasion?
No, I'm going to see Bruce.
Birthday?
Yeah,
Have we
yeah.
forgotten his birthday?
No.
No.
He's like, I'm going to see Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
But that is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you're feeling all right now?
No, I feel awful.
You're
Okay.
still feeling bad?
And I've got to run a really hard 5K this week. So wish me luck.
Come on, let's keep this light.
Sorry,
Everyone
yeah.
listening,
Yeah.
we're bringing everyone down.
Sorry.
But I suppose it's an insight into the fact that sometimes you feel a little bit rubbish, and that's okay. And actually,
Yeah.
my job this week is going to be to protect you from yourself,
Yeah.
because you need to not push too hard when you feel like this.
No, I'm easing off. I'm just annoyed.
You're annoyed.
Do you ever
and
get it though, where you're
annoying.
like, I'm getting to the end, I'm coming into race week, and bam, illness.
Yes, that happens so often.
Yeah.
Like, so let's make it all about me. When I
Well,
was,
why change the habit of
Yeah.
a lifetime?
Exactly.
but when I was competing, it might often be that the whole year or 4 years is built up to one day. And then in that final week, you're just terrified of exactly what
You
you're
get a stomach
describing.
bug.
Yeah, you get something. And so I think pre-COVID, I was way ahead of it on the old hand sanitizer. I was
Really?
Day one of lockdown started, and Andy's like way
well,
ahead of this.
Been doing this for a decade.
Yeah, I was like had a little holster. I didn't have a little holster.
What do you mean?
Like a little hand sanitizer holster. Like I could whip it out at any available opportunity.
Oh, I tell you what, that was a good time.
But yeah, traveling on a plane, I was always so paranoid about that sort of stuff. We used to get given like a battery of kind of vitamins and omega-3s and this like saline saltwater nasal spray.
Oh yeah,
that you kind of just had to irrigate your nose with to wash out any pathogens when you're in. Anyway, gone off on a little tangent here. But yeah,
that was quite a tangent.
It's normal that you, as you start to ease off or even just mentally ease off, like when you finish work for a holiday or something.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. Yeah.
It's a running thought, unlike a running reality, which brings us on to the subject of today's podcast.
What a segue!
Yes.
What a segue!
You are listening to BBC Radio 1 with Rick Kelsey.
Yes, running thoughts versus reality. So we've compiled a little list.
Yep.
Also, do email into podcast@therunningchannel.com if this sparks any thoughts in your brain of your own running thoughts versus reality, and we can do a part 2.
Yeah. So let's get stuck in. What's your first one?
Right, my first one, race photos.
Yes.
I was actually we were chatting to Tom, our videographer, about this, and he said a beautiful line of, when you go past a photographer in a race, you think you look sick, and then when you get the race photos back, you look like you're about to be sick.
Yeah. Nice. It's so true. I think everyone, you do run past and you try to do what I would describe. So this is related to what I'd call bus stop running. So when you run past a group of people in the bus stop on the high street, you totally change. You're absolutely dying. You've been out there for ages. You're sweating. You're a mess. But all of a sudden you think it's all right. One, you go loads faster.
Yeah.
And two, you stop picking your knees up, pulling your shoulders back, running nice and tall, arm drive, all of the perfect. You run like Tom Cruise for like 30 seconds as you go past the bus stop.
Yeah. Do you not also do that though? Like if there's so this is the current argument I'm having with myself. I will be out for a run and then I'll, turn behind maybe if I'm crossing a road, and I'll spot that there's another runner behind me who's definitely about to come and overtake me.
Yeah.
I then have a chat with myself and go, look, Sarah, they could be on an interval session. They could be on a harder run than you. They could just be a faster runner than you. Just let them go by. And then just as I'm about to agree with myself, I go, no, I'm not having this. And I turn probably what was an easy run, recovery run, into an all-out 100-meter sprint until I can drop them. It never works.
That's interesting. So I used to do my recovery runs when I was living in London, along the river in London, and there'd be loads of people running. And I had to call them, like Andy and I, my coach, would talk to them, to refer to them as no pride running. So like you have to run with no ego.
Yeah.
Because I had to run at whatever my body would let me run, and people regularly steamed past me, and I'd wave them off. And this could have been like
cool.
I like that. No pride running.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think everyone needs that for an easy run.
Shake it off.
Yeah, leave the ego, do what you need to do, get it done, come home.
That's a great win for them.
I was one of those
if
people running past him on the river doing heel clips.
I don't even know what heel clips are.
What is
No,
that?
I
When you leap up like and click your heels together, like
Nice.
celebrating.
That's quite cool though. Like out for a Sunday easy run. How was your run? Oh yeah, just overtook an Olympian.
Yeah, no one would have known probably.
No.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's bus stop running. And I think also the race photos or any photography always catches you on a down step.
Yeah.
This is my biggest bugbear, is that like you always get you look like you're almost squatting into the ground. They never get you on this beautiful upstep with your knee coming forwards, your arm drive, all that sort of stuff. It's always a disaster. The
thing to remember though is that moment, which is then frozen in time, which you look at and go, oh my, do I really look like that?
Yeah.
No one actually ever sees that. It's only in the photo because you come out of that so quickly. So don't worry. Everyone has that photo, but in reality, no one actually cares or really looks like that for that long when they're running.
I get that, Sarah, but wouldn't it be better than if we all did our photos at races before we raced rather than after? So, if
they did a little shoot.
If we all did a
like
little
at the
shoot.
Oscars or something.
Yeah, you should go and do it. It's your red carpet moment as you're walking up to the start line to do a 10K. And you're like, well, right here goes. I look great this morning.
Everyone has to do a stride just for the photographer.
Yeah.
You know what I would love? Have you seen that really famous camera on the red carpet where it's like a hyper slow-mo of celebrities? I think every runner should do that. Can you imagine?
There's an amazing YouTube channel.
Swift.
There's an amazing YouTube channel called the Slow Mo Guys that do loads of really cool stuff in slow mo. So maybe we should.
I think you're
collab
onto
with them.
something there, Rick.
Yeah. Stop posting your post-park run selfies looking like a sweaty mess.
No, do. Because that's the reality.
That's the magic. We're all about
screw reality.
Rick
Okay,
said
so-
every photo you post, I'm going to be like, was that a paid-for photo shoot?
yeah.
Do you actually look like this?
So basically, don't listen to Rick. Just put it out there because no one cares, and it's the reality of running, which was one of mine I'd written down, which is this idea. It's related. I think. Well, maybe this is just me. You want to run, and it is same as bus stop running, really. But you see people, maybe they're miles away, or there's a big group of people or whatever, and you think these guys really care about my run today. These guys are definitely checking me out.
So you're in their head. You think you're in their head.
Yeah, well, they're in my head probably.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, yeah, I need to look good here, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I've got my good kit on today.
Yeah.
I've coordinated my outfit. They're gonna care about that for one thing. They're also gonna care about my arm drive and my leg form and how tall I'm running and how beautifully I'm making contact with the ground.
Like a gazelle.
Yeah, just this naivety of that people would care that much about what I'm doing.
I've done that so many times, especially if you're doing laps of quite a busy park, and then every single time you run past someone, you might have a lap where you're thinking about yourself and going like, oh yeah, I looked great going past that person. Then have a quick think. How many people have you just run past where you haven't given a second thoughts to them?
Maybe this is just us though. Maybe we are entirely self-obsessed.
Potentially.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I think it's so true though that like if you're worrying what other people are thinking, you're probably not even on their radar.
Well,
that's what I love about track running as well, is that I used to be so scared of going to tracks because I was like, well, you're stuck in this little 400-meter circle and everyone will be watching you.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their own thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But do you two run with music?
Sometimes, yeah.
Most of the time, or sometimes?
I always only have, if I've got like separate headphones on, I'll always only have one though.
Oh, really?
So that I can hear.
Just safety?
Yeah. Like I know headphones do a really good job of you can hear the outside, but I think before that got really good, I just got so used to just having one headphone in or using like open ear headphones. Well, I just like it. I'm nosy.
But Sarah, you're one of these people who can actually sing when you're not a ball of phlegm.
Shall I give you a little rendition today? No.
I think you've offered it. Yes, you've offered it.
No, I don't want to.
Well, if you're not going to... Oh, look, she's got a shine out. Email in, podcast@therunningchannel.com if you'd like to have even just a little social media clip of Sarah doing an a cappella rendition of something. In fact, let us know what you want to hear her sing.
I don't think there are many attributes that people have in the sporting world more so than runners believing that they can sing when they run.
When they run. Or,
run. And then when you stop, you realise you can't. The amount of times I have a few inspirational tracks when I'm getting towards the end of a race, so I'm really struggling. And one of them is Michael Bolton, Soul Provider.
How does that go?
Well,
hey, I've heard you in the Sixth Form Talent Show knock out an incredible rendition of Usher's "You Make Me Wanna," including cartwheels on the stage. This is 100% true.
This is why it's so annoying that you guys are so old. Why isn't there any video footage of that?
There is.
There is.
I think there might be of that one. Yeah.
But
Email in podcast@runningchannel.com.
I do think that people believe that they can sing when they're running.
I think it's more a thing though of when you could be the best singer in the world, but when you're running, it's impossible to be like. I have so much respect for singers that dance at the same time as they're doing live gigs and sing live, because it's so you're bouncing up and down, you're trying to breathe enough so that you can run. It's impossible to sing well as well, which is why you need quantity in order for it to sound good. If you had 100 runners all trying to sing in one go, I think it would sound passable. Whereas Rick on his own at Parkrun,
Michael Bolton,
not quite as good.
I'd pay money to see it. I've got another one. Running up a hill. I'll explain this one. Is that you can feel like certainly I used to do hill sprints up what felt like a relatively steep hill, and then would regularly look at photos or watch videos that my coach might have captured of us running past him up the hill. And one, it felt like we were going flat out so fast. And two, it felt like the hill was really steep. And then neither of those things were true in the video. That never seemed to be true in the video. I know that like it's very hard to do a hill justice on video, on a photo. But even the pace that we're going at just looked so pathetic.
Oh yeah, the camera flattens it out. I think the same can be said though also for running downhill, is when you get to, I definitely had this in so many races where I was like, oh brilliant, there's a downhill coming up, this will be nice and easy. And then you get to the downhill and Oh, it's so painful.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
bad.
you expected that to be your respite. Actually, you'd rather have flat or a very, very gentle downhill.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as soon as a downhill comes in, it's that eccentric loading on your, I guess, hamstrings and quads is so difficult.
You also know when it's a bad speed session when you get to a downhill and you still can't hit the speed
Yeah.
you're supposed to be hitting.
I'm
I've had that the other day.
I know what you mean. I'm actually scared of downhills now. I kind of tiptoe downhills now. I shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but
well, there is increased impact on your knee joint.
Yeah,
so
I'm just overly cautious still of kind of something popping.
Ooh. Can we talk about poo?
Why?
I mean, no. So we talked about Rick's excellent sort of radio style segue into stuff earlier. You just straight in with a cold delivery.
Do you have to?
Well, it's a warm delivery sometimes.
Oh,
Sorry.
My God.
this is what everyone's here for. Yes,
Right, sorry. I just want to do a quick little segment on wheeze and poos.
excellent.
And this is a running thought versus reality.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the little running thought when you're in the Portaloo before a race going like, perfect, I've got my pre-race wee. I've got my pre-race wee in. I
Yeah.
won't need a wee for this entire marathon.
Well, I've never had that thought, obviously.
No,
Sorry,
never
Rick.
had it.
Have you
Never had
not?
it. No.
Oh, right. Well,
I know what you mean. I was definitely a nervous weir even over short races. So I would,
and then then you get to the start line and you're like, oh, I need a wee again.
yeah, not
and
much you can
then-
do about it then.
The reverse,
Yeah,
kind of.
is this the reverse?
Well,
What's the reverse of? Go on, hit me.
the reverse is, I don't need to go for a poo. I'll be fine. I'll be all right.
Because you
I'm not
haven't
going to do it.
haven't done it.
And then
That
you
is
get
always a
halfway
mistake.
through a race, and then you're like, I tell you what, I should have gone.
Yes. Then you've got to either join the queue for the Portaloos, hold it in, which is awful, or I've seen some people where they haven't had either of those choices become an option, which is lovely.
Honestly, please email in podcast@runchannel.com. If anything has happened to you, this is a safe space. You can stay anonymous.
There are
Well,
lots of other things you can email in about as
Yeah,
well.
I was
though.
going to say
No, come on, we got to talk about it.
the
a
best
little bit.
bit about this 1 minute segment
Yeah.
was professional broadcaster Rick Kelsey in the corner who looks like, we are not talking about this. I will not get involved. Look at his face.
He's literally telling us to wrap it up as we speak.
Well,
Do you want me to do one more that's not about poo?
Yes.
Yes.
You're so unimpressed.
He's so annoyed.
Running problem solving. This is one where, especially because we all work in running, I think we must have that even more. But there must be people as well. Like if you use running as your, right, today's been a lot, I'm going to go out, head out on a run.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be little problems in life, or there can be, I don't know, things that are playing on your mind. You get midway through a run, you hit a runner's high, and suddenly you're like, bam, I've come up with the best running channel video idea in the world
I like
ever.
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I had this happen to me on
Yeah.
a run recently.
Me
and
too.
I was
This happens to me all the time. And your experience is slightly different. Go.
So mine was, I was actually out filming this run anyway, had this eureka moment, filmed it, and was like, oh, this is so great, I'm not going to forget this. Because the other thing is you can have these eureka moments and then you get to the end of the run and you're like, I've forgotten my idea. But I filmed it, got to the end, played it back to someone else because I was like, this is amazing. And then I watched it back and was like, oh, it's really not that good.
You were too excited. Yeah, that's
So you
the
think
reality.
it's a really good idea,
Yeah,
but it's
because
not.
in the moment when you're running, you're like, wow, I've like solved world peace, or like, this
Yeah.
is amazing.
You stole my thunder a little bit. My experience is that I feel like that happens every single run to me, and I'm desperately like scrabbling around for like some way of memorizing it, like a mnemonic or something that'll trigger my memory when I get back. And I get back to home and I'm like, yeah, I've got no idea what it was. and I've got no. I mean, this could be an age thing.
This is how you're going to end up running a marathon.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is where you need to write it down. You know, in the middle of the night when you have that eureka moment in the middle of the night. I used to have a pen and paper beside my bed, so I'd write it down, and then in the morning you look at it so you didn't forget. This is what you need to do. You just need to give yourself a little voice note, Andy.
Yeah, but how? I don't run with my phone.
I admire that.
Maybe you should run with a little pen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
just a
pad.
Sharpie. No, just write it on my
Right on your
Yeah.
face.
on my face. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Or, what's this called? A dictaphone.
I mean, you made a really
What's
weird
this
gesture
called?
towards your face. But yeah, the addictophone. Yeah. We've all lost the plot. But yeah, it
Oh,
turns
right.
out that our running thoughts versus reality are very different. So if you've had any of these experiences, then let us know at podcast@therunningchannel.com. We'll read some of them out maybe in a future episode.
You are listening to the Running Channel podcast. Up next, we've got your questions. Plus, we've each picked a news story from the world of running to discuss.
Okay, coming up, we got your questions. But first up, news stories. Sarah, what have you got?
A man has broken the record for running whilst being on fire without oxygen, and he ran 272 meters in 17 seconds.
On fire. I don't understand.
The scientist in me then really boringly was like, we can't have fire without oxygen. But you meant the guy's not allowed to breathe, have like specialist breathing apparatus, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he's a firefighter turned stuntman. I couldn't find his name in the article, so sorry for that. But
do we need to have a disclaimer? Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure how you would try it.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean though. People might be like, yeah, I want that. 272 meters doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, but in 17 seconds.
How far did he run, sorry?
272 meters in 17 seconds.
Well, he didn't then. So clearly either your research or the article is wrong.
Hang on, that's faster than Usain Bolt, isn't it?
Yeah.
217 meters while on fire in 17 seconds.
Was this? What,
hold on a second.
What's happened here, Sarah?
But I've literally got the video of it.
Well,
it's in Australia.
I think there's a typo there. I think it was
Maybe it's
117 seconds.
172 meters?
no.
That would still be
as
pretty
as
fast,
Bolt.
wouldn't it?
Yeah. This is incredible.
You know what? I'll find out my facts and I'll get back to you next week on this one.
Okay, perfect. But either way, someone broke a world record for being on fire and running as far as they could, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, look, he's on fire and everything.
Running's really taken off. Andy?
Gonna put it out there and say that my news piece is slightly better researched.
Oh, yeah, what you got?
Yeah. I don't know whether it is actually. So it's not time sensitive, perhaps. It's not like but I saw an article in Stylist, which is, do you keep needing to spit when you run outdoors? So actually this is kind of a question and an article, which I thought, given Sarah's phlegmy status, is always also quite
I don't think I ever spit in a race.
Well, so there you go. So
Well, good for you.
No, it's not like a boast, but I do see people who do. I assume that's because they're phlegmy like you.
Yeah, well, the article was kind of about why do you generate more saliva when you run? Because clearly we're not just sat here now all desperately needing to spit, but I would definitely have a propensity to feel like I would like to spit or to have my mouth kind of fill up when I'm out on a run. Even talking about it, actually.
Oh, well.
Getting that kind of...
Oh, no, you're right. Nose clearance, on the other hand. I do some nose clearance.
It's not rockets.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, well,
That's
I think we're going to get some people messaging in about this because I think we should all work out what is and isn't socially acceptable and when. But there is a little bit more to the article, which was basically just a little bit of science that the saliva actually protects against ingested pathogens. So your saliva is there to kind of catch stuff as you breathe it in.
Flies.
To a point. Flies, but also pollen, pollution, and I suppose germs as well.
Okay.
So it's a first line of defense.
So if you're a mouth breather, you're more likely to need to spit.
Aren't we all mouth
yes,
breathers?
but I think you have to be a mouth breather
running.
when you run, right?
No, some people nose breathe.
No, I
very
think
hard
most
to
people
take in enough.
not enough.
You know, there was me and Mo did a video on this.
Yeah.
A lot of people, there's a lot of science behind why nose breathing is good.
But I think if you're doing intense exercise, you can't get enough in through nose breathing. But yeah, things like lower temperatures increase your body's production of saliva. So in the winter, that's why you might feel like you need to spit more. Exercise leads to heavy breathing, which leads to increased evaporation, which leads to a drier mouth, which means your body produces thicker, more viscous saliva, which might mean you want to spit as well. I know this is a lovely listen if anyone's eating while they're tuning into the podcast.
We've covered all the bodily fluids today, haven't we, Rick?
Yeah.
But then that means that you're out there running, and all of those things combined might mean that you have more saliva and that it's slightly thicker, and therefore you don't feel particularly that it's easy to swallow it.
Okay.
So then comes in the social dilemma of, can you spit? Should you ever spit?
Well, I think sometimes you need to, don't you? Because if you are actually clogged up, it's not going to do you any good. You just need to make sure there's no one behind you.
Yeah, but also I guess in the climate of the last few years, like people are pretty conscious of not spreading illnesses and germs and so on. So
yeah, I do think you need to, if you're gonna do it, it needs to be at the sacrifice of you're gonna have to slow down, find somewhere discreet. You know, full pelt whilst just phlegm's coming out of you.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference as well. Sometimes I have definitely needed to spit and therefore have spat on a run. Generally, I'm running in the countryside and I'm on my own in the woods, and that feels fairly harmless. Doing it in a race seems a little bit different. You see footballers do it all the time on the pitch, right? Which is not very nice to see. But it'd be the same thing. They're physically exerting themselves and therefore have more thicker saliva. So yeah, it's things like wind direction can play into it, I reckon, if you were anywhere near other people. Or knowing yourself, you don't want to spit directly into the wind and just get a face full of it back again.
Oh, that's happened to me so many times. Many times.
You spat on yourself.
Yeah. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have gone off somewhere discreet, like whilst running out, usually on a long run in the summer, I've tried to go it into a bush, the wind blowing it right back. The worst is when it goes back in your face.
What about somebody else getting your face
Yeah,
by accident?
That would be horrible. So I've got I know what's happened here is I know you would check the weather forecast in detail, right? And you'd be like, okay, there's a westerly wind coming in, but you don't believe in north, south, east, and west. So then as you're running, you'd be like, is it from the front? Is it left, right? I don't know, but we only need up, down, left, right. So there we go.
Look, right. Riddle me this. When you're out running, do you know where north, south, east, and west is? No. Do you know where up, down, left, and right is? Yes. That's it.
Okay.
But you also know where
Case closed.
port and starboard is as well.
What is that?
It's the boat directions.
Yeah.
I'm not. Am I running on water?
Stern and bow.
No.
No?
Okay. Well, I think next up we've got your questions, which I'm excited to dive into, but you're listening to the Running Tunnel podcast.
It's question time. Firstly, I've got to thank Phil from last week, who we criticised for not putting in his note where he was from.
Yeah.
But actually, Phil is from New Zealand.
Yeah, thanks,
North
Phil.
or South Island, though?
Oh, is
Come
it,
on,
or is it
Phil.
the up or the down island?
Up or
Sarah?
down island?
I hate you both.
Cece from Sydney has emailed in to say, I've got a question on recovery and exhaustion after my long runs. I'm currently training for my first half marathon and have scheduled my long runs for Sunday and generally try to do them first thing in the morning. When they're longer, I try to eat before, take on nutrition during, and eat well after. But she's absolutely knackered after her long run. Is this level of exhaustion normal? Post-long run, my movement is limited to the occasional walk, couch, fridge, and bed. So what's going wrong here?
So it depends on, without extra information about how long that run is relative to what she's ever done before, or like how much else she's doing during the week, it's actually really hard to say. But as a relatively new runner, even experienced runners, their longest run of the week is hard. And that was the only run of the week where I didn't do another run during the day.
Yeah.
And I would have felt exactly how she felt. Like I was done for the day. So I think doesn't matter how far you're running relative to someone else who might be running, a really long way.
I see.
If it's the longest thing that you do, it's going to be pretty hard.
Sarah, does it jump out to you? Because a lot of people do their long runs on a Sunday. She's also doing it on a Sunday. And that's after you've probably had a long week or you don't know what you're doing in the week. So could she maybe change the day of the long run?
It depends. I mean, if you've got enough energy to do the run itself, then I would say just maybe shift how you're looking at that Sunday. Like you're giving yourself, if you have the time to be able to do the couch, fridge, bed, which is an elite combination. I love doing that after a run. I personally would say, like, I've done a lot of long runs on Sundays or Saturdays, and I do kind of surrender the rest of the day to recovery because you've gone a long way. It might be the longest you've ever run, and then it is important to get some recovery in. Obviously, keep moving. Don't completely just sit or lie still for the rest of the day because you might then get up and feel a little bit stiff. But there's nothing wrong in going, okay, I'm going to have one day a week where I'm prioritizing my run in the morning, which might take, a few hours. And then in the afternoon, I'm just going to have a chill one. Or if you want to be social, invite your friends to you and they can join you on the sofa.
Take pride in that level of tiredness because you've put some hard work in. And that's how I used to feel about it. I feel like, I've done some hard work here. So I'm going to revel in this rest because I've earned it. I mean, it is we're not doctors, obviously. There's lots of anecdotal evidence of people who do feel really fatigued having things like iron deficiencies and so on. So it can be worth, if you are really concerned, getting kind of blood tests done to check things like that. But so it sort of depends on the level of exhaustion here. If it's literally like can't peel yourself off the floor, then probably that's a little bit too tired.
And like you say, fueling straight away afterwards as well, which is really important. Okay, Waijan from Singapore has got in contact. They say they're a relatively slow runner who will be running the first marathon in November at the Revel Big Bear Marathon in California.
Ooh, best of luck.
Nice.
That one sounds awesome.
We've got some proper international listeners. It's amazing.
I have run 2 half marathons previously, 2 hours 50, 2 hours 40, both on my own during the pandemic, carrying my own hydration vest and gels. They currently run 3 to 4 times a week, total mileage of 30 to 40 kilometers. And they're looking through marathon plans that would be available 20 weeks before a race. So a couple of questions here. Really good marathon plans for slower runners, plus how long should their furthest long run be at this stage?
This is a good question because they've asked specifically of like time-based plans will ask for like a 3-hour long run or 20 miles, but they've said 20 miles will take about 5 hours, which I've talked to a lot of runners about this because it is quite, if you are targeting like 5 hours or longer for a marathon, then that you do have to think about this quite a lot because you shouldn't really be going out and running a full 20 miles if you're going to be out for a really, really long period of time.
Yeah, and similarly, the point here, I think, is that a lot of plans would say don't run much more than 3 hours as your longest run, whatever distance that might be. Yeah. In this case, that is basically a half marathon. So is that enough to give you the confidence that you're then going to be able to complete the marathon? Probably not. So you might have to go a little bit further, but I definitely wouldn't worry about it too much. There are factors that will come into play on the race day, like you're not carrying your own stuff, you're surrounded by other people, you've got drink stations and all those other things to kind of help you along, you've got the adrenaline of race day and so on. But there's a balance to be struck between time on feet and how much distance you're going to have to cover on the day.
That's tricky though, isn't it?
It is.
If you're running at those type of times.
Yeah, because the hard thing is it's thinking about the recovery time. So like, yes, okay, you could go out and do the 20 miles, you will have built up to it, but actually you then need to give your body enough time to recover to then be able to tackle the marathon. And that might be, 4 or 5 weeks later. Yeah,
the logic here is that having a long run that is 3.5, 4 hours or more is going to take a long time to recover from. So I think that it's very difficult to advise without knowing the individual person and how much they're running during the week, for example. But looking to go slightly longer than that 3 hours does make sense to give you the confidence that you've run more than a half marathon in your longest run. But you're going to have to factor in the extra recovery that you'll need compared to someone who, say, they're doing their longest run of 20 miles but only takes them 3 hours. You're going to have to factor in extra recovery before your race. So you might need to do it earlier in the plan, and then you might need to almost wipe clean the next 10 days of training where you're just going to jog around a little bit and treat those all as recovery runs.
But best of luck. What a race.
Yes, incredible. Let us know how you get on.
Super.
You have been listening to the Running Channel podcast. Could you do us a small favor? Leave us a review if you like what we're doing. We'd love that. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. Maybe just drop us a comment with any of your questions or email in to podcast@therunningchannel.com, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.